Hi everyone, this is Thomas Sanser, aka the CRM Keeper. So today I'm actually going to be putting my GitHub solution to the test. So a while back I created a community solution for anyone to use, it's free, on GitHub to help you get started with customer service. And the point of it being that I was using a lot of time recreating the same demos, and I was thinking, okay, maybe for once I create a solution that is just good enough that we can re-import quickly and easily and get going without having to do the manual work every single time. Plus, I also believe that this is a solution fairly good enough to be able to do direct in production. So I've already made a video demonstrating how to display the solution, but today I was going to test to see how quickly we can actually create a customer service based on my solution and on my blog, of course. So putting it to the test. All right, so here we go. So if we start out with my blog entry, so in my blog, crmkeeper.com, I have a guide here for the how-tos of customer service. And this is the blog post called the Dynamics 365 Customer Service, the Solution. And so before I've started this now, what I've done is I have a clean Office 365 environment with only one user, so just a clean demo trial. I have also a clean production environment. All I've done on this one is to install the customer service. So the customer service is already installed. So if you're wondering what to do, you can just reset your environment and reset it with the customer service and you should be good to go. So clean environment, absolutely no data in here. And so for our next step, we are going to go in and start by the first part of my blog, of course, in the Exchange here, just we get it set up early, is to create an Exchange mailbox. This is just a shared mailbox that we will be using later that we're just going to call customer service. So the way that you do that is you go into admin.microsoft.com. You have to be probably a global admin, but in our demo here we are a global admin. So I will be creating the shared mailbox, and I'm just going to click Add, Customer Service. So then I'm going to inherit the same name for customer service, which is fine. This is what I need. So customer service at customer service setup.onmicrosoft.com. Click Save. All right, so this might provision a few things in the background, but also what will happen is that this now will be sending information to Dynamics for a queue that we can pick up later. It's not going to be sending, but we can pick it up. I'll show you later. Okay, so let's just go on to the next point. So this is when we create the mailbox. And so for the second step, import the solution. So navigate to GitHub, which is here. And this is my GitHub page where I have the whole solution. So what you will see here is the scenario demonstrating what processes that this supports. And I've also included into the solution file all of the things that I'm actually doing, because sometimes we have to write to account or write to appointment or write to case, but I'm trying to create my own forms, my own fields, so I'm not touching any of the standard out-of-the-box entities, or sorry, the forms. So you should be pretty good by just installing this or just deleting it right away. I have not created, though, and I can't stress this enough, I am not an ISV. This is not an ISV solution, because this does touch a lot of the custom entities, but not in a way that it should, it shouldn't interrupt anything that you already have. So I will be importing this as a managed solution, and the reason my argument being is because all of the things I have here are documented and they don't affect anything, so it's really easy to also remove if you want to remove my solution. I do, of course, include the managed solution if you want to. I haven't tried it, so I'm not going to be demoing it. So just download the latest version of the customer service solution. And so for the next step is, of course, to import. So then we are over to our next step, which is import solution. So we are just going to go in here to solutions. So this is make.powerapps.com. We will we will be doing an import. And all of the old navigation screens are still loading pretty slowly. So I'm guessing this at some point in time might become a new modern look and feel. But I also guess this is some of the thing, just how long does it actually take? And this is a part of the time we have to wait. Here we go. All right. So let's choose the file, and we will be navigating where I put this. I put it here in here. All right, so the customer service regular file, open, next, next, and import. So it's not a very big file, so it should be importing fairly quickly. Mostly some forms, a few fields, and a bit of JavaScript. And so before everyone goes hating saying that JavaScript shouldn't be a part of solutions or whatever, I mean, I hear people saying those things too. Java is great. When used correctly, Java is the right tool. Just the way that sometimes plugins are the right tool or business rules. The only confusion I would say is that sometimes you might mix and confuse too many things, and you have too many business rules and too many JavaScripts and or many other things, and then they get confusing because it's hard to sort of figure out who's doing what with the hides and shows and stuff like that. But I still do feel that the JavaScripts that I have in here are fairly necessary in order to do my HTML signatures and a few other things. So. Okay, let's just look at the log here. So after this, we're just going to do a quick publish. And once after we're done publishing, we should be getting the solution called CS, customer service. I tried not to give it a very specific name for me or anything. It's a very anonymous name. The prefix of everything here is CS underscore. So there's nothing saying Thomas Sands or the company I work for. Everything's just customer service. All right, so here we go, the customer service. So the last thing we got to do, because this is not a managed solution, we have to publish the changes. And I am a little excited to see what possibly could go wrong here, because I've only been doing this in a trial environment and everything's been going fine, but this is the first time I actually tried to use the same solution I have from GitHub into a new, fresh environment. So I haven't tried this before, so I mean, a lot of things could happen, of course. And I guess it's just the waiting game. All right, so there we go, close. So now we'll just open my customer service setup here. So this is going to load up here, and as we see now, I have my CS app. So here we go, pretty cool. All right, cool. So just one thing that I'll be doing in the background, not a necessary point to do, but I think it's nice if you want to display how things actually look eventually, and that is demo data. So I'm just going to go in here into I believe it is settings, sample data, install sample data. This is not a mandatory step to do. It just looks a lot better once it gets installed. So I'm just going to let that go in the background. And let's see what the next step here is. Okay, so for our next step, we're actually going to go into the add team and security role. And the reason why we have to add a team here is because my setup, the way I chose to do this, I'm dependent on a team because I use queues and teams to say that this is like the cases are assigned to a team. And the reason I chose that was just to use the queues very simply. And I'm not using queues. I'm actually using just views to keep the navigation simple, because while queues probably are a good idea, it would be a good idea to use, I feel that the navigation can sometimes get a little tricky for the end user. So we will have to open up the advanced settings here, because at this I could probably navigate other ways, but I'll just do it for the quickness. We are going to go into security and teams. So we are going to create a new team here called customer service. Save. And we will be giving it the role that also is a part of the solution file. I believe it's called team customer service. There we go. All right. Basically what it does is saying that the security role just gives it access pretty much to sort of own cases. So, okay, that's all we should be needing from there. Sorry about that. Let's look into the blog again. So after adding the teams and security role, we get over to add queue plus assign team. Okay, so the next step here is that we're actually going to get that email address that we created, the customer service at customer service setup. So we're going to create a queue. So we navigate over to the service management, and I'm very aware that we can be doing all of these things now in the new UI, but it's basically just old habits, and this still works, and it's a little quicker, I believe, at least sometimes. So they're basically because of old habits, but that's why I navigate here. So a queue. So the first thing what we're going to do now, we're going to create a new queue. The queue we're going to call customer service, and the incoming email address, just to make sure I don't get it wrong. This is what we created. Our shared mailbox. So if I go back to the queue now and I do incoming email and hit save, we have now done the first step of actually connecting Exchange and Dynamics, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to check out my sample data. It's installing in the background. Perfect. So that means I can just close this window. We don't need that anymore. And what we're going to go over to is get to the blog, just to show you, steps here. So we go into the queue, we add the element, we then navigate over to the mailbox that it has created. Because what we need to do now is we have a few steps that we need to do. We need to approve the mailbox, test and enable, and just check if there are any alerts that occur. But if everything goes as planned, we will be getting a setup like this, just saying that everything is fine, and the email with the server-side synchronization and Exchange Online is exactly as it should be. So let's open the mailbox and have a look. So the first things we got to do here, and this also is a setting that you have to be a global admin to do, I believe, and that is to approve the mailbox. Unfortunately, I would say having to be a global admin. After it has been approved, then we do a test and enable, hit OK. And as every other process, this is an asynchronous process, so eventually we shall be seeing some notifications within the alerts. I'm just going to be hitting the refresh button here every now and then. There we got our first one. So we should be getting 2 more. Anytime now. There we go. All right, so we got all 3. Good. Again, what could possibly go wrong? Cool. So I close this out. That means that we've done what we need to do for the email. So we now actually have a queue in CRM. It doesn't have any logic. It's just a queue, but we have a queue, and it's a functioning queue. To demonstrate that, I mean, what I normally do now is actually I do a test email. The reason I do that is because I've seen sometimes when I try to send something in, it doesn't get picked up for some reason. But if I start by sending something out, I can get an email out of the system. Next time I start sending something in, for some reason, it starts replying and everything's okay. That could just be a fluke every now and then, but still, it's become an old habit that I'm just keep on doing. So for the next step here for email settings, okay, so we're going to do that later, but first then, okay, next here, email settings, and this is also very, very important part of my blog because many of my scripts are based on these settings being like this. So if we go into the email configuration, and then we go into email configuration settings, so we'll look into that. So, service here, email configuration, and the email configuration settings. So what I have been writing and basing my blog on is that we don't want the tracking token. I don't like the tracking token. I actually hate the tracking token. I've been writing about that, why I don't like it. It might be very clever to have, but for CRM to be able to match emails, but this thing over time only confuses the users, and I've seen so many cases where this really goes wrong. And the customers always refer to this because they think it's a case number, and it's just a random set of numbers, or random. But the point is, it's completely useless to me. So I do smart matching, and I know a lot of people will have some, if this is actually a good idea or not, but the way I put it together, I believe that this will be a fair solution. I'll show you after a while. Okay, so I will also be keeping the correlation, so that's fine. And I will show you exactly, sorry about this, I keep tabbing and I don't need to, but I will be showing this in the blog also. So this is the setups that I have. Use the correlation and smart matching. So, click OK. So while that is saving, there we go. So the next step I then have is actually create an account and contact. And that's before the send the email test outbound. So, okay, let's just go ahead back into the CRM system, and I will be creating a account and contact. So eventually we should also be seeing more demo data. Yes, we got some demo data in here, and that's great. So I'm just going to be creating a new one called Sunset. All right, and a new contact. Oops, sorry about that. All right, so account contact, nothing very special about that at all. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually test to see that our queue is working. So I open the contact, and I will be sending an email. So as you can see here now, by default, this is the from sender, and that's not something I want, because I want to test the customer service. And so here is our queue, the customer service queue, because I want to test to see if this actually works. Okay, click send. So eventually I'll just keep on checking here. In a while I should be getting an email into my Gmail address. Okay, so the next steps here we'll just head on to the next step is the send and test outbound. That's fine, we did that. And we made sure before we sent that we changed the from address. So that should be okay. And if things go, we should see the email in the Outlook. And sometimes what I've seen is that these things can go into spam. I haven't checked my spam here, so I should have probably deleted most of these spam things. All right, but anyway, oh, here we go. Inbox. This is one item. Anytime soon now? There we go. Customer service testing out. So now we know that our customer service works. So let's see the next step. So the next step here is to activate record creation and update, plus add team to case created owner. So this is the original thing that was called the email to case, and after a while they renamed it to an automatic record creation because we could basically create whatever we wanted instead of just the case entity. I am aware that there is a new way to do this by flow, but at the time of making this whole solution, that flow wasn't working. The flow support team has actually fixed it now, so it is possible to do it by flow, but for the time being, this is the way I've done it, so I'm just going to keep it like this right now. So I will open and find the record creation and update rule that we need to update. We need to look into. Okay, so what we're going to go into now is the service management again, and open the automatic record creation update rule. So here I've imported one that's called email to case. It's in draft state right now, and we have to do some tweaking here before this actually works. And as you can see here, the queue is missing, so we are going to add the queue customer service. There we go. So that's step one. Plus we need to do a little bit of updating here on the create case also. So as you can see here, I have preferences here on we do create records records for email from unknown senders, because I don't want you to have, it's a customer service center here, so you don't always know the people sending emails in. And create cases for activities associated with resolved cases. Yes, but what I do, which is a little special here, is I'm saying 1 minute when you go over to creating a new case. And that's because I am basing my installation on the fact that you don't focus too much on the SLAs, because I don't really feel that SLAs are true. They are true in the manner that people can get an organization to try to answer. What you end up with in many cases with these SLAs is that the person answering is just answering really quickly just to say, oh, we got your case. He might not even be the right person, but he could check off a box saying that's an SLA. And I don't really believe in that. But I really believe in the fact that you should be doing quality support. And this is just my argument right now. Quality support and quality services. So you don't really close your case before you know by fact that this thing is closed. If that means having to pick up a phone and actually calling the person just to make sure and verifying that this case by default is closed, that's a good point. That's exactly how Microsoft support are doing things these days. They also have SLAs though, but they do call you if you haven't verified that you can close the case. So they actually try to do a pretty good job there. I really do like them these days. So, okay, send automatic emails to response to customer. Yeah, so that's basically sending that, yeah, we received your case. So let's go back into create case. And let's take a look at this. So one thing that we have to change here, it's because I can't, of course, transfer teams. And I will show you in a bit what that means. So for the, I have an error here in case. So what I need to do is just open this and substitute the customer service down here. Just delete this and add customer service, because this is the correct GUID. Save and close. and then save and close. And now we can activate. So, I mean, if everything went according to plan now, we should actually have a functioning queue with a response in Dynamics if everything has worked out perfectly. All right, so let's see the next tips here. I'm just talking about my preferences. Yes, changing the customer service. Then we activate. And then, okay, let's say the next step here is adding the signature. This is also actually a important part of my customer service setup. So if I look at here, I'm back into my customer service app. If I go in here and click the setup button, I have also here you can do the queues, of course. But I also here have the signatures. So, and I'm going to get back to why I didn't create over here afterwards. But anyway, so activate signatures. So the whole point is that for active signatures here, I use signatures as HTML signatures, and I've been written about those in my blog too. So far it's been the only way to do it. I see something coming now in Wave 2. I don't really know what's happening with it, but as from my understanding, this is what we need, or we should be doing right now. So I'm going to create a customer service signature, and as an HTML example, I will just open my blog. So I have a Dynamics 365 email HTML signature and sender. It's a bit of a JavaScript normally that's behind the scenes here. I can explain that in detail if you are interested. There. So basically just copy this whole thing here, the example HTML. I'm going to add that into the signature. So I've also written about how to add signatures with other cool signatures if you want to do that, but this is just to sort of get how quick can we get going, you know? And click save. I will actually do save and close at this moment. Here we do. So here we go. So we now have a customer service signature. I'm just going to quickly touch onto this and say the reason why I didn't do this is because the new UI will automatically create everything in Flow. And at the time of creating this, of course, as I was saying, this wasn't working. So therefore I couldn't use this. So into the users, and this is the next step, because why would you, okay, what are we going to do with the signatures and how did I solve that? Well, the way that I solve the signatures is that I go into the user card and I've added one custom field. It's this one called signature. The default queue is actually a default system field. So I'm not, it's just that it's not really used for anything that I could see for the customer service. So therefore I reuse the default queue, but I've created a new field called signature. So by opening the user, Thomas, down in the bottom here I can see the signature field, and I only have one signature at the moment, so customer service. But the default queue here, I'm actually going to go over and say the customer service queue. The reason for this is because I get this queue and replace the from in the email with this value. And so this is a good way to say that most people in, I would say, customer service, I would hopefully, I mean, I would say that in many cases you're representing one email address as a sender. If you're representing more, I mean, okay, that can of course happen. We would have to think of a different logic, but this is again based on a demo and a quick sort of get-going customer service solution. All right, so we have our signature and default queue. Save and close. Next steps. This is an optional step. Add email warning, new activity on case. So the reason for adding this email warning is just because Dynamics, let's be honest, out of the box has a few flaws. If you receive a new case into the system, you won't actually get a notification, even though if you're the owner. And you definitely won't get a notification if you actually get a new activity or something like that on the case. We have to, as consultants, create our custom workflows or something like that, or flows or Power Automates, to notify that you've received an update on your case, which is a little weird if you ask me. But that's just how it is. So if I go into the solution, and I can actually go either via the solution, we can do that right now, we can go into the customer service solution, and I'm just going to filter here on flows, notify if email is received on a case. So let's just see what we have to do here, because this is turned off by default, and I'm just going to go see what we do here. Well, it looks like you're actually just click on. That's all you got to do. Okay, cool. Just to make sure that this actually, what it does, I'm just going to go to quick edit here just to take a look at it. Yes, we are going to connect via these. So if email is incoming and the direction equals false, which would then be basically incoming, because I don't want to check on the outgoing emails. And then if regarding equals case. So if an email is then regarding a case and not an opportunity, because we don't need this to run on opportunity. Then I need to get the case, and then I need to check if the owner is not a queue. And the reason I'm saying this is because the first time you send an email in, it will be assigned to a queue and a customer service team. So that's not someone we can notify. But once you are the owner as a personal private owner, like Thomas Sanser is the owner, then is a system user, then I will get the system user, and if the case is active, I will then update the case's last activity date. And that's basically just to sort of say that, and I will send a notification. It's basically just to say that I have a new custom field on case saying the last activity date, and it's just to be able to sort. And we're not even going to get into the whole sort of what if a case is closed and you need to reopen the case because you receive an email for some strange reason. Maybe the emails, the server-side sync or something like that does something weird, so it puts the email onto a case that has already been closed. It can happen. So in that case, I don't actually think I do this actually. So I do set the status to active and status reason to in progress. If, that is, the status of the case is inactive. So if it's closed, I actually go in and I update the case to active, just to make sure that it's on. I mean, someone has to see the email that came in, because otherwise it's just a ghost email that no one ever knew about. Okay, so I'm not going to be doing anything more here. I'm not going to be saving any changes. It's basically just, all I got to do is click turn on. Oh, I gotta probably, all right, so go back into edit mode here just to make sure. Yeah, so I probably have to do save first. There we go. First save, and then I probably can do turn on. Yeah, that looks more like it. Good. All right, cool. So actually, the next step here is actually to test to see if this works. So if I here on the customer service, I'm just going to go and send an email and say, first case. Will this work? All right, so this is going to take a little while. It is not the fastest service because everything is happening in the background. So first of all, we will, in the email, will hopefully arrive into the queue. And hopefully we will get an auto response here in a while saying that this is the case number you have been assigned. Then the case will be created and then we can see it. But that does take a while before the email is actually delivered to CRM, because it will only do so with every so and so often. I'm not quite certain as to how often it is. So we might do a little fast forward. Here we go. All right. So as you can see here, okay, so very, very cool that it finally came. And one thing I do want to point out there, see here, the main thing that I also do here, which I feel is kind of important to point out, is I do create my own custom case number. And there's a good reason for doing this. And the main reason, of course, more than anything else, is the fact that this is not a unlogical built-up characters of case dash something something dash something something dash something something. This is a number. This number is very easy to remember. It's 1033. And the fact is that that is also the case number. So whenever the customer calls you, this will be the case number. Because if I go back into active cases now, I'm just going to here. So I have a few views here on cases. I have the active cases, that is everything in the system. But then I have the active cases teams. The cases for teams. So this is where every single case comes in the first time before it is assigned. And then of course I have the my active cases. But I'm going to take this active cases teams. I'm just going to open it just to display. So as you can see here, I mean, I give it this name as a case number. So this is, I take over the standard. So I do actually take over the standard case auto number, but hopefully that won't create any problems for you. It shouldn't, because I would do it anyway. This number series here just makes a lot more sense. Because now the customer calling in based on an email is basing everything in his sentence about the 1033. It's a very simple thing to search for. And here's the next thing also. When we now do the reply, and this is where the signature part comes in. So this is the email that we received. So let's just view that. Oh, sorry, then I opened the incorrect email. This is the email we received. This is the response that was sent. So if we look at this email, and as you can see here, I mean, we have lots of, the recent cases potential. We have knowledge base articles that we can send directly. I have a different video on that, on the demoing, but all of this stuff is really, really working well. So I'm opening this now just to see that, okay, so we received from Thomas Sanser as the contact Thomas Sanser, which is the Gmail address, and it was sent to customer service, the first case. So what I will do now is, if this would work, first try, maybe I need to do a few refreshes, we'll have to see, is when I click reply here, the expectation is that the from is then changed over to customer service, the subject is set to a unique subject, and the signature will also be added to my email. All right, all three worked. First try, great. So we have here the customer service. As you can notice here, the unique subject and the HTML signature that we added. And why I think this part actually is quite unique here is because I did, if you remember, I went away from the tracking token, and I'm using the smart matching. So I believe that this will be enough for the smart matching to understand that this is a unique case, hopefully. And if we enter into cases where the smart matching will at some point maybe then do a, if someone replies incorrectly or something like that and something gets put onto a case that is closed, my whole point being the case will then be reactivated and then be put back into our views. So I'm just going to be going here and I'm going to be saying, cool, let's fix this. So as you can see, important, I am not replying as a personal user. I am replying as a customer service representative. There we go. So if we look back into the case now, we have all our history working great. And eventually I will also get an email back into here. Cool, let's fix this. And everything here is based on this email tag. So whenever I reply to this, everything is based on a tag that makes sense with the correct, I would say, numbering. Cool. So let's just say, thanks. Hopefully this is replying to the correct email. Or I should maybe be replying up here. whatever. Not that familiar with the Google email, to be quite honest, but that doesn't really matter. So, and that is it. So that is actually the end of my blog. And if this wasn't too advanced for you guys, I mean, I was talking quite a bit here, but if you took away my talking, the question is like, would you really be using that much more time? I mean, I believe that we can get this easily done. I actually haven't seen the time here, so I'll post the time. But I mean, you're well within the hour, and you've created a customer service solution that is actually quite good, if you ask me. And of course, I'm impartial here because I created it, but it's got your email signatures, it's got your from senders, it has got a functioning auto number with the subjects, and everything here will actually, in fact, work. This could be a small production system, and I think that's pretty cool. But of course, it's got my job to think this is pretty cool. All right, so anyway, that is it for today, because what I wanted to go through today was basically just, you know, viewing how quick we could do these things. And I'm sure people have different questions based on why did I do this and why did I do that. Just, well, either write on my blog or post a comment on this video, do whatever, and I'll try to answer. All right, thank you guys.